Well, class of HowDoWeHuman, we did it! Welcome to HowDoWeHuman. This is the podcast where we talk about all the weird and uncomfortable micro moments in life. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Binning.
I'm one of your hosts, Evan Cox.
Today we're going to be talking about graduations. It's probably already happened in your school district, but for reasons that we'll get into probably, we're talking about it a couple weeks late. But something we can talk about that's happening currently is what's going on in our lives. Evan, how you doing?
Right now I'm doing pretty good. It's a little hot up here. Last week we talked about how hot it was getting, and it started cooling down, and now it's hot again, and I'm upstairs. It's just always hot up here. It's a problem. Otherwise, I want to talk back to my favorite spot.
The grocery store?
Going back to Stater Brothers.
Yes.
So check this out. I was at Stater Brothers the other day, and I got a bunch of stuff, and I got in line. And when I say a bunch of stuff, I mean a bunch of stuff. This was a big trip. I was stocking up. Nothing crazy. $130 worth of shit. A cart full of stuff.
Yeah, so like 5 items in this economy?
That started off as a real laugh, and then I joined you in fake laughing. But so I've got a bunch of shit. I'm done shopping. I get in line. And of course I get in one of the regular lines. Not the 15 items or less, because I'm not a dickbag. As far as I know. I'm standing in line. It is a long line. And there is a person, which I've done this before. I've just been faster about it. There was a person in front of me that it was just a cart sitting there. And then they come running back. They're like, oh, I'm in line too. I'm like, yeah, you pushed your cart to the side and you were gone. I'm like, are you here? Anyways, right after that happened, a manager of the store comes up to me, gives me the wave over. I'm thinking, awesome. Awesome.
I'm thinking awesome.
Awesome. They're going to open a new lane. And I love it when that happens. So like, yeah, hey, we're opening up a new lane. I know you're like 6 people back, but these people can wait. We choose you, Pikachu.
Yeah.
Get on over here. I'm like, fuck yeah, here I go. Da, 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 Pika, Pika. And
they're like, never mind.
Maybe that's what changed their mind. Instead of opening up another line, this manager goes, we're going to give you aisle 1. I'm like, oh, okay. I go to aisle 1. Aisle 1, 15 items or less.
Uh-oh.
I've been told by a manager, not my manager, but their manager, the god of the store, to get in a 15 item or less line with arguably 50 items, you know? There's no one else behind me. There's one person in front of me. I'm like, okay, this person will finish up quick, and then I can check out. I'm probably going to say something to the cashier. Sorry, I know it's more than 50.
I know I'm not supposed to be here.
But I'm here. I was told to be here, and I do what I'm told. But the person in front of me ends up taking a very long time, to the point that 4 or 5 other customers are now behind me in line. All of them with small baskets and like 5 to 15 items. And now I'm fucking panicked.
Yep.
Because I'm like, everyone in line thinks I'm an asshole. And what am I going to do? I can't just turn around and be like, hey, sorry I'm here. They told me to go. But I'm also like, I got a lot of shit. I'm not going to let 4 or 5 people go ahead of me. I'm not going to be that nice. I want to get the fuck out of here because this sucks. And eventually I did, is like the end of the story. But the whole time I'm thinking like, the person behind me is going to say something shitty. The cashier is going to say something snarky. Like someone's going to ruin me.
Yep.
And it didn't happen.
Impressive.
And maybe that's the epitome of anxiety of just like, granted, don't be a dick. Don't just do that on your own.
Yeah.
But it's like nothing happened. I was shaking. I was
Yeah.
fucking not doing well. And everything was fine. And no one seemed actually mad as I was leaving. So
I
fuck do I
mean,
know.
I think I've told this on the podcast before, but when I was a cashier, I was working an express lane and I saw someone several people back get in the line with like 30, 40 items. And I called out to him like, hey, you can't be in this line. This is for 15 items or less.
Yeah.
And he stays in the line, gets all the way up, and he's like, "Oh, but I'm not gonna do the accent because then people are gonna people are gonna come after me." But he was like, "Oh, but my brother, I'm here I'm here, so can't you just help me?"
Awful.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. No, it's just willfully ignoring that. When I cashiered, I never worked at a place with express lines or 15 item or less lines, so I don't know the other side of it. The unknown scares me. Chris,
Yeah. Yes.
how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I went to another one of our favorite places,
Mm,
the gas station.
love it.
And I went to an Arco. I swiped my card. I agree to the debit card charge, all this stuff.
Got it.
And I'm filling up my car with this has ever happened to you. But I fill it all the way up and it's done and I look back and the total is exactly $51. Felt incredible. I've
Awesome.
never had it land on just a dollar amount, no change.
And this is this you stopped it, or this is where it was full?
This is where it was full.
That's magical.
Yeah.
I love that. 50 would
Since
have been nicer.
50 would have been nicer, no doubt about it. But
I mean, 40 or 30 would have been nicer if we want to talk the economy. Sorry.
This podcast has changed.
We've changed for the
We're
worse.
we need to get up in the podcast ratings, so we've decided to say the exact same things as every other podcast to try and grift you into liking us.
It's gotta work.
Anyway, since getting married, we my wife was a big budgeter, so now we have a little budgeting app, and so we put our different expenses into the budgeting app, and I went to double check, compare it to my account to put in the number when I got home. And I forgot, Evan. It really bummed me out. I forgot about the 35-cent debit charge. So I
Oh
didn't
no.
end up with $51. I ended up with $51.35.
No, you never should have gone back.
I know. The moral of this story is budgeting is bad.
Budgeting's bad.
Budgeting is a big bummer.
Budgeting is bad. Nah, we're budgeting too. Happens.
Yep.
In this economy. Well, that was temporarily exciting. I will say, related at Stater Brothers, that same trip, I had got some meat. I went to the butcher counter, and one of the things I got, a pound of ground beef. And the guy there just grabs some, wraps it up, weighs it, exactly 1 pound on the dot.
Wow.
He seemed nonplussed about it. I was like, dude.
Dude.
You just hit that number exactly? He's like, yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty slick. We just, humans are simple. We like even numbers. Even
It's
though
true.
51's not an even number, technically. It's an odd number. But I always say that even number meaning no change.
Yeah. No change.
Whew, Get off my back, number people.
Unlike this
David
podcast,
Crumholz, get off my
no
back.
change.
This podcast, yeah, no change. We change daily. Have we changed since graduation? Is the
Yes.
question.
Yes is the answer.
I've changed a lot for the better.
Yeah, me
Maybe
too.
not a
I
lot.
think
I don't know.
I think probably 90 to 95% of people change for the better post graduation.
I mean, arguably, we did read what I wrote in my friend Dustin's yearbook. So, yeah, I've changed for the better. It's a positive direction I've gone in. Did you graduate?
I did, and I graduated, of course. There are two different graduations that I can talk about, high school and college.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. I didn't go to college, but I didn't
Did
think
your
about
did
that.
your film school have a graduation
We,
event?
yeah, where they made a reel of, so we watched a bunch of our short films and shit, families invited, and walked up, shook hands, got a little certificate. It was good.
Yeah, I mean I guess I also had like a very minor like graduation thing from the 1 year program that I took at UCLA where they give you your certificate of completion.
Yeah.
It's not really gonna. There's no good stories from that for this episode. Do you? Because when I feel like when you're in school, I always felt like graduation, and not like the act of graduating, because that certainly felt important too. But like the actual
Yeah.
graduation ceremony, kind of like prom, felt like a huge deal at the time.
Yeah.
And then
Overly important.
yeah, you go to it and you're like, this is boring.
Yeah.
This
We're
takes
just
forever.
calling out everyone's name one by one. And this is, I don't want to switch topics too much, but we got to get back to it. I don't know if you were, but in my case, it was calling a bunch of names and being told, don't cheer.
Yes.
Don't cheer for those people graduating.
Yeah, that is a very common thing where it's like you're not supposed to cheer. I think especially I don't know what the reasoning is, if it's like the cheering really slows down the flow, or if it's like some people are gonna get a lot of cheers and other people not gonna get as many cheers, and we don't want
Mm-hmm.
that. So I don't know which of those two things it is. It could be both. But
Yeah,
at
we got
every
the most.
graduation, there's a there are people who refuse to follow that rule. And
Yeah.
my family has always been like you said for Stater Brothers, we do what we're told.
Mm. My
They
entire
told us not
school
to cheer, so we're not
ignored.
going to cheer.
Everybody
And then the
cheered.
family that's inevitably sitting directly next to us or behind us screams as loud as they can and blares their air horns.
Fucking air horns. I kind of forgot air horns existed. I don't think I've ever blasted one. You ever blast an air horn?
No. I've been around them when they've been blasted, but I've never been
This
the
feels like an
blaster.
episode. We record an
Chris and
hour of
Evan
us.
blare an air horn.
An hour of us talking about our thoughts about air horns, and then at the end of the episode we each do it and talk about how it felt.
I don't think I'd like it, to be honest.
I'm not sure how I would react. But I'll say it quick. In terms of the being told not to cheer, we were told not to cheer, so it's self-explanatory.
Yep.
Everybody was cheering anyways, but less than it would have been otherwise. So it's like quiet cheering, applause. But I was in the band, so I'm in my big gown and my hat, but I still had to perform at the
Yeah.
graduation. I didn't have to like play the graduation song or anything because I was walking, but there was just like a showcase and I had to do a solo. So I was a big stand-up bass solo. Everybody loved it. I was the most popular kid at the kiddie corral
In the barn.
in the barn. Yeah, we'll get to that, but because we weren't allowed to cheer, quote unquote, and those are all students in a student function. Um, every time someone from band would have their name called and go and graduate, the drummer would just do like a big drum solo, the loudest fucking thing in the world. I'm like, hey, it's not cheering.
It's true.
And
I
when
respect it.
I graduated and walked, I appreciated it. It was nice.
Yeah.
Hey, here I am.
Speaking of walking across the stage, that
Yeah.
was another thing that we were told of like, don't do any bullshit when you're walking across the stage,
Don't
okay?
fuck with us.
You're supposed to walk this way, shake with this hand, grab the diploma with this other hand,
Yeah,
turn
so
for a photo,
serious.
and then leave.
It's
Did you?
weird.
Because that was another thing where like people still would do some bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel the pressure to like come up with your own special thing on that stage?
No, because similar to what you're saying about your family, I was generally a rule follower.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if anyone did. I feel like someone did a cartwheel, but I couldn't tell you who.
Cartwheels. I mean, some people would dance when they would, come up. I think cartwheel and dance are like the two big ones. I'm sure that this was after I graduated, of course, but I'm sure post my graduation, every school district saw some dabs.
Yeah, just hitting a fidget spinner,
Yeah,
going out
yeah,
there. Should have
yeah.
done like a golem walk. That would have been cool.
That would have
People
been
would have liked
awesome, dude.
it. You see how easy it is to be cringy and awful at a
Yeah,
school function like this. But it is bizarre the level of ritual involved in graduating high school.
sure.
It is a big deal, but it shouldn't feel like I'm fulfilling a blood pact with the
Yeah,
devil.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it an anxiety thing? The teachers are like, please don't try to shake with the other hand because this is where the diploma is, and then it's going to be awkward as hell.
I do think that there's a little bit of like it's going to be awkward and it's going to slow us down, and we
Yeah.
know that this is going to take a while anyway. So like I understand why it has to be so like regimented, but
Mm-hmm.
it does feel kind of strange to be told your whole educational career like this is the biggest moment of your
Yeah.
life and do it exactly like a cog in the machine. It's like I don't know,
We
it
prepared you for the
feels
workforce.
weird.
It's yeah, you're prepared for it to be. It's the moment where it's like it's all, you did it, it's all over, and we're gonna celebrate you. And then it feels like, yeah, but there's one last little test you have to pass. It's weird.
Yeah. You mentioned the cap and gown,
Hey.
and something that like especially I think this might also be much more so post my graduation.
Mm-hmm.
Although there were definitely some people who would do this. Decorating your cap.
Yeah,
Did you ever do that or have people in your class that did it?
I'm sure people did.
Yeah.
I did not, and it never really occurred to me, so I don't think it was that big a deal. But I feel like we just watched. We were watching a bunch of John Hughesian movies, and I feel like a lot of '80s movies. Like we watched Say Anything. I think in that there's decorated caps, so I think it's been around forever.
Okay.
I'm a happy cog in the machine. I
Yeah. It's hard. That's interesting that they would be in those movies. I guess it's just like
I might have made that up. I don't know.
it's just hard for me to believe that people were doing things before Instagram. but but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I I think that like I recently went to a graduation, which is
Oh,
part of why I
congrats.
suggested this topic, and so we'll get into that in a minute. But when I went to this graduation, I was like, oh, it makes a little bit more sense to me now that people decorate it so that they're easier to find in the crowd. Because
Oh.
there was like my brother's girlfriend was graduating from college, and so we were there, and I was like, I think this is her over here, but there's nothing. There's like the people that really went and like did an eye catching pattern on their cap. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's easier to see in uh, the ocean of caps and gowns. But I think that for me, it always came back to something that we've discussed a little bit, which is like, um, it's like why I always used to wear uh just like plain t-shirts,
Hmm.
because like I don't want you to see any sort of my personality. I was told to be a cog in the machine.
Don't
I
give
can't
me
be
any
different.
comments.
Yeah.
I don't want to be commented on.
No.
Give me
So
a
I think
drum
maybe
solo
that's
and
what
let me
it
get out of
is.
here.
Yeah.
That did bring up a point of anxiety for me in high school when I was graduating, because like similarly, I don't know what it's similar to. I think we said something earlier, but like one of the things, I guess, just in general, that you're like, oh, it's going to be an exciting thing. Like, you're excited to throw the hat,
Yeah.
but I wanted to keep that hat. My hat looked like everyone else's hats, and I knew I would never find it. And I think I ended up just grabbing a hat, but also now in my mid 30s, I don't care about that hat. Felt more
Yeah.
important at the time.
I also felt like the hat was important, and so I think that like I intentionally threw mine a very like light short throw that like went right up and right back down
Just
so that I
tossed it
still
onto your
had it.
head.
Yeah. But you're right. Like I don't know why I felt like I needed to keep that. I'm
That
sure
is,
it's still somewhere at my parents' house, but I
it's
I don't know why I have it
one
still.
of those awful things that feels important, and you keep it, and you will keep it forever. You can't throw it away, but you have no interest in it. You don't look at it and feel anything. It's a hat. It's a stupid looking hat. Can we
Yeah.
talk about that? We haven't changed these
Yes.
hats after all these years.
What
What's the idea here?
what kind of hat should new graduates receive?
Cabbie hats.
Yeah, because those are the ones that you look good in.
Yeah, they look like a bunch of newsies tossing their hats in the air, or just a whole class wearing fedoras. Yeah,
That'd be funny. I think a fedora is like that's the way to go.
yeah, yeah. That well, I guess we were talking about this off pod, but a short film review you were reading made it sound like people are nostalgic for the 40s, which I've never
uh
heard before.
yeah, no. I mean, yeah, we were looking at reviews of people getting upset about a 2.5 minute Donald Duck cartoon. um,
Life's too short.
yeah. At this graduation I went to,
Yeah.
and this is skipping ahead a little bit, but they did not throw their hats.
Ooh.
And so I would imagine that was an order handed down from the top that was like,
Hmm.
we don't do that here. Which I thought was strange. So I don't know if that's just her school or if that's kind of been the new normal with
Do it.
Ellen Barkin, our favorite.
Yeah.
We did it. um But let me talk about this graduation I attended real
Let's do
quick,
it.
Evan. Because I hadn't been a spectator at a graduation since my brother graduated high school, I think,
Okay.
which would be so it's been like 11 years at this point since I attended a graduation ceremony. And uh there's there's too much. There's too much going on.
Yeah.
Not unlike the Oscars.
I was thinking that. Who's better at organizing events? The Oscars or graduations?
Yeah, this was a community college graduation,
Mhm.
and there were so many speeches.
Oh,
Um,
no.
that we don't need all of these speeches. It's always from like members of the faculty that nobody in the student body ever really interacted with,
Hmm.
and then like one or two students. And every single student since the beginning of time has opened their speech with, "Well, class of this year, we made it."
We did it.
Or "We did it." It's one of those, like, just, and then everybody goes, "Woo!" Uh,
Well,
I I hate that. um, our
should
guest
open
that
it
we
with
were going to have
the.
on,
Oh, God.
but bailed, had to reschedule several weeks and was just unable to make it work. But she gave the speech at our high school graduation because she was our student body president.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember uh trying to lobby her to to split her time and give me time with the microphone. Which she wisely did not accept. But
It's
she
funny.
did give me her speech beforehand and was like, "Hey, any notes or any like punch ups you wanted to do on this?"
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at it, and I remember not really doing a lot with it. I feel like maybe I cut some things out where I was like, you said this already, or you like, this is just repetitive."
Yeah.
Um, but kind of walked away with it from like what I want to do at the microphone and what you want to do at the microphone. They're not going to gel very well. So you do your thing. But I can't remember, and I wonder if she would remember either. But I can't remember if she started hers with like, "Well, class of 2011, we did it."
I think you got it.
Um,
How would you start it?
um,
What's
that's a great question. Yeah, I'd probably, in the words of the Budweiser frogs or whatever those commercials were.
I was
Oh,
also
I
I was also thinking it'd be fun to unveil a banner like George W. Bush that says "Mission Accomplished."
That would be fun. I don't know
I
how
don't know if it would
you could
land.
make that work, but that would be
My
very
graduation would have been
funny.
a little closer to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of like there'd be a lot of fun things to do. It's just like I understand why there are student speeches,
Hmm.
right? That's at least somebody that I've potentially seen,
Member of your
had
peers.
classes with,
Yeah.
talked to, as opposed to like the principal who I've never spoken to in my life, or
Yeah.
the dean of admissions who I've never even seen in person before. um but like there so I understand why there are student speeches,
Yeah.
but they're always the same thing.
Hmm.
um the faculty is always also the same thing. That's like, I want to give a shout out to the faculty. I want to say thank you to all these people, blah blah blah. We don't need any of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe you can do one, but everybody's here to like hear the person they know's name get read. That's it. That's
Pretty
all we care
much.
about.
Yeah.
Um, you can open with a performance from the band, do one speech, and then let's get these names rattling off. I don't know why we're at the graduation I went to. I think there were two different performances from the band, three faculty speeches, a student speech, and then all the names. And what really struck me though is the end of this graduation ceremony, because the faculty comes out and they're like, "Congratulations, you are now all officially graduates of the Phoenix Community College."
Mm-hmm.
But before we go,
Mm.
we have one surprise left in store. And everybody in the auditorium, or in the, I don't even know what the venue.
Rodeo barn?
Not a rodeo barn. I do know it was not a rodeo barn. It
Whatever.
was some sort of stadium, but I don't know for what. Um, but anyway, everybody's like, "Ooh," and instinctively, I don't know what your mind goes to if you're at a graduation, in an indoor stadium graduation,
Ladies
and
and gentlemen, Flow Rider.
All right, that's not where everybody in the stadium's mind went,
Okay.
because everybody looked up. Oh, balloons or confetti are going to come down.
Yeah, okay.
But very quickly, it's very apparent there's nothing up there.
Damn.
The lights go out, and then there are little multicolored spotlights that start roaming around. And then the faculty all stands on the podium or the stage or whatever, and they're all just standing there, posed up, standing on business perhaps. And then six different uh it wasn't fire, but it was like sparklers, little sparkler towers or whatever, come up.
Yeah.
Becomes very clear that one of them's not working very well, so it's 5.5 are going off.
Great.
And then the Jennifer Lopez song "Let's Get Loud" starts to play, and we listen to it in its entirety. 3.5 minutes of "Let's Get Loud." The faculty still just standing there, looming over the graduates, who just are only allowed to kind of, vibe in place to "Let's Get Loud" as 5.5 sparkler towers go off and multicolored strobe lights roam around the venue. And then it's like, "Okay, thank you." And then that was it.
Wow. Thank you for getting loud.
It was, yeah, I just it was such a bizarre one last surprise, one last hurrah.
And this was recent?
Yeah, this was a month ago, a month and a half ago. I don't know.
A month and a half ago, not J-Lo's biggest moment.
No.
That's fascinating. I love that. That was someone's idea of
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna fucking kill.
Yep.
It's like, oh man, I love it. It's terrible. But I do want to go back to the speech, because you made me realize, weirdly, I did our student speeches was valedictorian. What's the salutatorian? Is that the one under?
Oh, I don't know.
Something like that.
We had
Those
valedictorian and student body president were our two
okay.
student speeches.
So we had those two, and then there was one that we got a vote on.
Ooh.
I wanted this so fucking bad.
I would have too.
And we did a public speaking episode. I'm scared. I'm a scaredy boy. But I wanted that. I wanted that fucking moment to just be see, I was quiet, and a lot of you didn't get to know me, but I'm funny as hell.
I would have been.
Here's my Gollum walk.
And I know that speeches had to be turned into the faculty ahead of time for approval.
Yeah.
I would have been too enticed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
to do more of a roast than a graduation speech.
That's what I was kind of wanting to say. Not a roast, but like it did the actual speech that the person who got voted, believe it or not, pretty popular person.
What?
That's how voting works. Well, not in this country. No, but it definitely had the feeling of like, okay, this person's the person that's going to be kind of like funny. Now I'm second guessing myself. It might have been, that one might have been noted Elma High School alumni Dylan Thompson, who we drew all the penises on. He might have gotten that vote and gotten to give a speech, and he beat me, and I didn't like that, Dylan. You naughty boy. But the other, I think the valedictorian or whatever, someone giving speeches. And outside of the opening, which is like you say, well, look at us, baby, we did it. Nobody put Selma High School in the corner. Judge Dredd is here. Ooh boy, Judge Dredd is here.
Judge Dredd is here.
Not a part of speech.
Is that how you would have opened your speech, Evan?
I wouldn't have been terrible if you got up on mic and said,
and would you have done
Dredd is here?
Would you have done it as if to refer to yourself as Judge Dredd, or would it have been roast style of like, Judge Dredd is here? Let people applaud.
I Gollum walk.
Judge Dredd is so dumb.
Gollum walking up to the podium, and then I say, Judge Dredd is here. And that's the whole speech.
That
really
speaks for itself.
People something to think about.
Yeah.
But no, it had the vibe of, after the intro like that, which is always the same. We did it. Judge Dredd is here.
Yeah.
Then it goes into like, this is the speech for the students. We're always going to remember Jimbo McCluskey and his silly antics in science class, and Sarah McCluskey. I'm picking up names. I'm good at improvising names. And her doing all, and it's all these stories of things like, we're always going to remember this. And I'm like, man, I was not in the popular crowd, and I was not aware any of these shenanigans were going on. I am not always going to remember this.
Yeah.
But you got me second guessing, thinking about, because there was something, and I think it might have been that, giving a speech at graduation, where it was like all the seniors got together in the lunchroom by request of some teacher, and they're like, we want you to nominate people to give a speech at graduation. Either it was that or it's something else. But I got a nomination. Me and my friend Dylan both got nominated, and then some popular people got nominated. I do think Dylan ended up winning. That's good for him. But I came too close, and I'm worried that it wasn't just a vote after the nomination point. It was, we all wrote speeches and submitted them, and they picked their favorite.
Oh, you don't...
And that thought sucks.
Remember writing one?
I'm not sure. My memory's garbage. I might have written a speech, but I do remember sitting in class, me and Dylan being in the same class, and them announcing it over. I had a lot of kicks in the dick announced over intercom at school. Intercom, not my favorite interruption.
What is your favorite interruption?
Here's Judge Dredd. Or, ladies and gentlemen, it's Flow Rider. It's him. He's here.
Speaking of Flow Rider,
let's do.
This doesn't really happen at high schools. I would imagine it probably doesn't happen much at like a film school.
Yeah.
And it certainly didn't happen at my college.
Great.
But celebrities coming to do commencement addresses is
That
something I'd like to
yeah.
touch on.
That was where we kind of got started talking about this, wasn't it? A lot of
A part of
commencement
it, yeah. I
going
mean,
on.
that's been a thing that's happened, for a long time, where,
Yeah.
famous people will come in and they'll do a commencement
It
address.
it's ritual. It's this weird tradition that we don't let go of. I don't know. It's weird. I think it's weird.
I think it's I don't know if I think it's weird, but I think that, like, certainly where it was this year was weird.
Some weird moments.
Some weird moments. Yeah,
At least a couple of people didn't get the assignment.
that's so true. So
So
hip and so
true.
true.
So hip and so
And
true.
um because I don't remember when he did this, but I do remember, like, Andy Samberg gave, like, a commencement address, and I watched that. I've seen Will
Mm-hmm.
Ferrell's commencement address. Um and they're usually pretty funny, but the way that the sound is all set up, it really seems like he's getting only very, like, polite laughs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's more than that. It's just the way that it's getting picked up, is it feels like jokes that play to almost complete silence, but he's holding for the silence.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would have been nice, I think. Like, I think I would have been more forgiving at the time of a, like, celebrity commencement address being worked into the schedule of my graduation. But after this past year, maybe not.
That's the thing. It's like, yeah, there's a list of, if you're graduating and it's like, all right, Andy Samberg's here to give a speech. That'd be cool as hell. But it's
Yeah,
probably not going to be. It's probably going to be like, here's Judge Dredd. Here's Hoda.
sure.
And Hoda's giving you a speech, and you're like, I don't care. Why is Hoda here?
Do you want to do an episode about daytime talk shows? Because
I mean, it needs to be talked about.
in the break room at work, sometimes if I work a morning shift, somebody keeps leaving live with Mark and Kelly on the TV, and it is an insufferable TV show. I can't stand it.
Is Mark her husband?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And believe me, she is eager to let new and returning viewers know almost every episode that they're married.
It's hard to keep track. So many hosts over there.
Yeah.
Rattle them off.
Just in daytime TV shows?
No, the co-hosts for that show.
Well, sure, they had Regis.
More recently,
They had Ryan Seacrest, I'm
Ryan
sure, because
Seacrest,
he
Michael
hosts
Strahan.
everything. Michael Strahan, yeah. Those are the big three. And now Mark Consuelos.
Mark Consuelos. Okay. I'm down. There's a lot to talk about, especially if we squeeze in the View and the Talk.
Of course, all of them. Bring them all on.
Let's talk about the Soup.
Yeah, I could talk about the Soup.
Is that still the show? Is that
if
still a show?
Joel
The Soup is so
McHale,
good.
came into giving a commencement address, great. Would love
Seattleite.
it.
He could have done it.
Yeah, he could have. Since I was at a community college graduation a month and a half ago, he could have been there.
Right. What if he just did every community college graduation? It's like Greendale, we did it.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be thrilling.
6 seasons in a movie. I do want to, before we forget and get too caught up in this whole episode, I do want to backtrack slightly to talk about Walking Across the Stage, because one of our listeners did contribute a story to this episode. Han.Hartnett on Instagram said that her sister was the 5th grade class president and had to make a speech. She tripped on some chords and knocked the big standing speakers down. That's mortifying.
That rules. That would be so embarrassing. In retrospect, that's funny as hell. I want to see video of it. I'm not laughing at your sister. I'm hopefully laughing with, because come on. You gotta laugh. Tear down a bunch of expensive equipment the school could barely afford to rent.
It's also very funny to me that was the 5th grade graduation.
Seems like a lower stakes event.
Yeah,
I don't make it high stakes real quick.
I mean, I'm sure we had something, but I don't remember really like having a big end of elementary school graduation. I think in middle school I remember having a very small like graduation thing there, but I don't remember having one for elementary school.
No, I don't think we did either. Talking about walking.
Yeah.
Walking like I'm talking, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned, it's a weird little point of contention between us. We fought about this. No. I mentioned having to ask someone to walk down the aisle with you. To stand in line. So not walking to get your diploma, but walking into the room. We had to do it in pairs. And those pairs damn well better had been men and women. So you had to ask a girl to walk with you in public. It was like a dance, which I'd outside of 1 year avoided as well. I asked 2 years, and then the person who went with me the previous time said no.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
The previous time.
She said it was a financial thing. Yeah. Who could say? Didn't feel great, but I've let it go.
Have you?
But it felt like you were forced to do it. Like a dance, I always had the option, and I took that option. You don't have to go. Yeah, then I won't. A lot of my friends aren't going. What am I going to do? Hang out with a pretty girl? Doubt it. But I didn't have that option. I had to graduate, and you can't walk by yourself. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to get like paired with someone.
What if there's an odd number of students?
That's a great question.
What?
I have no idea.
What do you mean you can't walk by yourself?
I have no idea.
Oh, sorry, you can't graduate.
Wow, I do. This is sad, but I do remember before graduation, like the last day of high school, walking by and like I'd say a friend of ours was like sitting on the bench on the phone, and he was crying, and he's just like, "I'm not going to graduate. They just told me."
They just told me there's not enough students to pair up.
They told me no one can walk with me, so I can't. That's
your school sounds insane.
My school is insane. It was a weird place.
That's such an unnecessary, like brutal thing to drop on graduating seniors. Like our school, I'm sure that because I think that I'm pretty sure our school, still had like, the men on one side and the women on the other, but it was just like alphabetical by last name. So it was just like, oh, I guess you're closest to binning on that side of the field. So I guess we're walking together. I don't remember who it was. I remember who I sat next to on the guys' side, because I think I met him for the first time at graduation. So I've never seen or heard of you before, but super nice guy.
I remember the people directly in front of me, a guy named Anthony that I'd always been like pals with, but had never, not in a way that it's like we're sitting down and we're just like talking. We were just like chatting for an hour. I'm like, I should have been better friends with this guy. He's fun. He's a funny dude. Just kind of a quiet guy, and I'm kind of a quiet guy, and that doesn't mesh all the time. But anyway,
you had to ask somebody.
I had to ask someone.
Please, will you walk down the barn with me?
Yes, if the listeners don't remember that, it graduated in the same place we hold the Grace Harbor County Fair rodeos. So dirt ground, literal barn. Um, so that's cool. But so I put this off like I did every year with dances because I'm like, I'm fucking terrified of women. And I'm scared to ask people. And I waited too long. I ended up asking a friend of mine, and she was like, I 100% would have loved to, but someone already asked me. And then I'm like, man, what was I doing? I could have just asked fucking anybody. I ended up walking with someone I knew from our church and here and there via other activities. So it was all fine. I wasn't at the back by myself. But it's just, I don't know, especially graduating. I'm just like, why is this still a fucking problem for me? Talking to girls.
Why? So then, so now I'm trying to figure out how
Piece it together. I
the
gave you all the
names
clues, Mr.
got
Policeman.
yeah. How did the names get read out? Did you, because at this community college graduation, they all had their card with their name and their major on it, and
Yeah.
as their row lined up, they would hand the card, and then that would get put into the prompter, and then they would read that aloud and do it that way. In high
Hmm.
school, I think that's what I must have done in college too, but in high school, as I mentioned, it was just alphabetical by last name, so they were just reading down the list. So if you
Yeah.
had all
Those are
sorts
great
of
questions.
mismatched walk-ins, comma Christopher, how did you then go up to receive your diploma?
Here's my guess, because this might be the case that we walked together, and then when it was time to get up, there was an order, like you had a seat with your
Okay.
name on it. So you walked up together, and then you would separate and find your spot. Clunky as hell.
That sounds awful.
It
Why?
was
Who's in
awful.
charge of your school?
Maniacs. But it does lead me to the next big important thing, talking about walking, talking about voting. Did you and your class get to / have to vote on a walkout song?
No.
Really? These are all things that I thought were like everyone had this experience. What did you,
N-
when you, after you graduated and you walk out of the building, were they not playing a song?
I mean, they must have been, like, the band must have been.
Interesting.
Well, so actually, you know what? I don't know how it worked. I can't remember for some reason, even though it's more recent. I don't really remember my college graduation nearly as clearly as I remember my high school graduation. And it's
Interesting.
probably because I graduated college like a year early. And so I didn't really know any of the people that I
That's
was
fair.
graduating with. So it didn't really feel like much. But in high school, I almost feel like we didn't even, process out. I
Interesting.
almost, because it was on the football field, like a normal school.
We
And
had a big football field. It just
yeah.
got flooded that time of year. So we would
uh,
have to swim. Yes, there was a time of year every year that our football field would be covered in like a foot of water.
I feel like we didn't process out of the field. I feel like
Fascinating.
it was just like, all right, now go find your families. Like,
Get out of here.
yeah,
Unless
it
you all want to
was,
play a pickup game of football.
which I do, by the way, I do want to give a quick little tip because
Ooh.
I noticed this. Like I had always done this during my own graduations, but when I hadn't thought about it when I went to this past one.
Yeah.
Um, Communicate with your friends and family beforehand, a
Yeah.
meeting place to get to, because otherwise it is a mess to try and find anyone in a massive crowd of
It's a
hundreds or
terrible
thousands of
time.
people. Yeah.
Not recommended.
But what I don't remember what they played when we dispersed. What did you vote for and what was the winning song?
So 9 times out of 10 in the past years. So that's the other thing. Unlike other people, I did have a view of what graduation would be like exactly because I was in the band and we had to play. I was a fucking bass player. I had to play Pomp and fucking Circumstance. That on the bass, don't, don't, don't. Nothing. You're just playing that for hours. Madness. Absolutely maddening. But so I'd had a preview of the previous 3 years, or maybe four. I might have, because I started in the jazz band in middle school. I was in the high school jazz band in middle school because I was that cool. The songs they would pick up, I feel like 3 out of 4 times it was Good Riddance by Green Day.
Oh, interesting.
Another turning point, folks, get in the road.
Yeah, that's interesting because I did kind of want to bring up graduation songs
I
because
did kind of want to bring up Green Day.
there's that one. There's of course Vitamin C. That's a big one.
Classic. I'm shocked that wasn't what we did, but wait till you hear what we did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what other graduation songs there would be. But yeah, those are the two big ones.
Always wear sunscreen.
What?
You don't know the sunscreen song?
No.
Baz Luhrmann. This is a lot of information.
Yes.
Okay, this was a big hit song. And I want to say the early 2000s.
Okay.
And it's just like, it's a beat. Baz Luhrmann produced it and made the beat. Why? I don't know. But it's Baz Luhrmann of Romeo plus Juliet and
of course.
Australia. I can't think what's this big movie. Moulin Rouge.
Elvis. Oh, yeah.
Elvis, sure. But and then it's got this guy, I don't remember who it is, that's giving a graduation speech. And it's weirdly compelling, and it goes with the beat really well. And the big circle back moment is like, because he's giving advice to people. Always wear sunscreen is kind of where it starts. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've never heard of this.
Fucking classic. Banger. You're going to check it out after this. Anyways, we had free reign to vote for whatever we want, which meant, of course, groups of people getting together and going like, well, we need numbers, so we got to vote together. It turns into Survivor really quickly.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember initially.
Will you form an alliance with me to vote for Soulja Boy?
Tell him.
Tell him.
Hey.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to tell him we need the numbers.
I'm sure I went out of my way to just be like an obnoxious tool and vote for like a Tom Waits song or something. But so the big voting happened, and then they narrowed it down to the two most popular choices.
Let's Get Loud and
that would make sense. One, Guns N' Roses' Paradise City.
Sure, take me down.
Where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. Like, all right, yeah. I guess that's a graduation song. Okay. Sure. The other one, a current hit at the time, Bon Jovi's first foray into country music, the country version / duet with Jennifer Nettles, Who Says You Can't Go Home?
Oh, yeah.
That is what our graduation song was.
I mean, truthfully, that's what I would have voted for over Paradise City.
I voted Paradise City.
Nothing against Paradise City.
I hate this fucking song, so I'm voting for Guns N' Roses. It doesn't make sense, but I'll vote it.
Yeah.
The idea, I had written it down because I had to look this up. I had the idea that the song was called You Can Never Go Home. That's what I wrote down in my notes. I had to look it up to go like, oh, right, it's that song. Because I forgot it was like a hit. And I've heard it a billion times since then. The idea of graduating from a small town and already saying, who says you can't go home? And most people never left. So
Yeah, well, there you go.
that was the idea, I guess.
Should we do a bracket for schools in the future of like what's the best graduation song?
Yes, 100%. We'll get Vitamin C on.
Yes.
I'm gonna start making.
There is,
a
of
list.
course, I can't remember the lyric preceding this word, but there is, of course, the word graduation in Outcast's Miss Jackson.
Oh, graduation. Sorry,
right?
Miss
I see. I don't
Jackson.
remember the words before that. I remember graduation, and then following that.
God, yeah. Just saying, like, I'm not gonna be in your life, but I'll see you at this, and graduations. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, for real. Maybe not a great graduation song, but it's a great song.
It is a great song.
Did you find those lyrics? Is that what you got?
Yeah. So know that everything's cool, and yes, I will be present on the first day of school. And graduation.
And graduation.
Yeah, it's good stuff. That's what I would have voted for.
That's good. I mean, as Dustin insinuated, with how many people were pregnant at graduation, that would be a very ironic song to be playing. Oh man! Well, it sounds like my school was run like a democracy, unlike yours, which you were just lorded over by the monarchy faculty.
Yeah, I do think. You know what? And the more I think about it, I think we had 2 valedictorian speeches and the student body president, and probably 1 or 2 faculty speeches. So like, it really is too many and they all say the same thing. They're all 5 of these speeches are like, you did it, and we can't wait to see what you do next. It's like, I don't know. I don't need to hear this 5 times.
No, there's nothing original you can say. It has to be impersonal, because you're talking to 100 to thousands of people. Thousands. I don't know how big some school. I don't know how big schools get. I went from 100 some people in my class to a post high school with 20 people in it. So I don't know how big they get out there. I hear pretty big.
Yeah. I don't know how many people were in my school, but there were definitely hundreds of graduates in high school, and then I'm sure there were
millions,
nearing 1,000 in my, because they split up the college one into all the different schools and majors to kind of mitigate the name announcing that they have to do.
Yeah, that sounds like you had a lot less to worry about in your graduation. You were alphabetical. You got to just kind of walk in, remember which hand to shake with.
Yep.
I'm like, I got to take a bass solo. I have to talk to the person I asked to walk with me. I have to listen to a bad Bon Jovi song.
There was also always the worry of like, is my tassel currently on the correct side?
Tassel.
Got to double check it over and over again. Make sure I didn't accidentally switch it over to the graduated side.
I got to get to the bottom of all of this ritualistic horseshit with school graduations. Because you know this all started 500 years ago. And there's a dumb reason for all of it. I don't like it. And
speaking of dumb stuff, this podcast, which you can find new episodes every Monday, and you can find our entire back catalog on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Casts, HowDoWeHuman.com. Anywhere that you get your podcasts, you can find us and listen to us and then bump us up those charts. Let us start overtaking some of these harmful, unfunny podcasts.
Harmful, unfunny podcasts. I like it.
You can also find us on our social media. Hey, we got that nice story from user hand.heartnet
Yeah,
We're asking for stories all the time.
it's
Not in the
true.
past couple weeks because we kept thinking we were going to record this episode with a guest, and then we
That's
had to
also
keep
true.
punting it, and so we had to
Yeah.
scramble for episodes. But anyway, we're looking for stories all the time. So if you find us on our social media, you can send us your stories for topics we've got in the future, or send us ideas for topics you want us to cover.
Please.
You can do these things at Instagram, at HowDoWeHuman,
We got that handle.
Facebook at HowDoWeHuman.
I don't think you're ready for that handle.
Watch video episodes on YouTube at HowDoWeHuman.
Who says it's not our handle? Because they're wrong.
You can leave us a voicemail at our phone number, which I obviously have pulled up.
I have it pulled up.
323-657-9896.
And enjoy your stay at our lovely Handles Resort.
Or send us an email to howdowehumanpod@gmail.com.
The best part of that handle is that it's an email. ASMR.
All right, Evan.
Yeah.
It's time for our quiz. Now, as the current standings are, you recently broke 50 points. You are at 50 points. I am at 57 points.
And we are
and of
at
course,
HowDoWeHuman.
Dustin is at 4 points. I told you, I have to pull up this webpage ahead of time. And I told you I saw the first question.
Yes,
and it got me stressed out. Because I know we learned this.
Oh,
but
no!
looking at it, I don't remember the answer.
The worst part is I did also kind of just get a refresher on this.
In which year did the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor? 1941, 1944, 1939, or 1945?
Listen,
yeah, this is tough because we not only did we learn this on this podcast, we reiterated it to each other multiple times in that history episode.
Yes.
To the point where we thought, now we'll never forget this.
And I just, with my girlfriend, we rewatched Oppenheimer, a real romantic evening.
Yeah.
And literally talked about this and looked up the year again.
No.
That was a week ago. I'm between two, and I feel confident that it's between two of these.
Okay.
If I'm completely off base on that, I give up. I am dumb.
I'm between two also, but I don't really. I don't know why, and I'll explain why in a moment when I tell you which two I'm between. Because I'm between 1941 and 1945.
Interesting. Okay.
Those are just the 2 years that really stick out to me.
Yeah.
And so it's like, by that logic, do I go with 1944 or what am I doing?
Interesting.
But I've ruled out 1939. I've ruled it out with confidence.
I am 1944 or 1945 in my mind. I'm going to go 1944.
Okay.
Wash my hands of this.
Yeah. I mean, man, this pisses me off. I know I'm going to get this wrong.
Brutal.
I'll go 45.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be 1941. Ready? Fuck.
Ah! I'm an idiot!
It was.
Awful. Okay, I know this one. You probably do, too.
I believe I do.
Uh-oh. Oh, it's my turn.
It
What was the
is.
first sequel to win the Oscar for a Best Picture?
Hit
Oh,
me with those options.
this is also my job. The Empire Strikes Back, Godfather 2, Toy Story 2, Terminator 2, or
I believe this is Godfather 2.
this is Godfather 2.
I'd love for Toy Story 2 to be the winner of Best Picture, but
Do you love Toy Story 2?
I like Toy Story 2. I
That's how
don't
I
love
felt
Toy
too. I
Story
haven't
2.
seen it. I saw it in theaters, and I remember being like, that was fun. But as an adult, not to sidetrack all of this, as an adult, I feel like people love Toy Story 2. They're like, it's
Yes.
better than the first one. And I'm like, I didn't feel that way, but I questioning whether I should rewatch it at some
I
point.
mean, I think that people really just love that sad montage of Jessie being left by her owner. um I think that that's what people love because
Yeah.
it's more dramatic than what's in the first one.
I see. Now I'm thinking I'm getting this mixed up. Is which one has Warren Beatty or Ned Beatty? I mean, as the bear?
That's Toy Story 3, of
Yeah,
course, as
same.
Lotso Huggin' Bear.
2 is the prospector.
Yes, voiced
Who's
by
that?
Frasier himself, Kelsey Grammer.
All right, I might have to rewatch just for Fraser Crane as the prospector. Anyways, this has been
In
Toy
what
Story 2.
modern day country did the Sabines live?
Great question.
Malaysia, France, Italy, Russia.
Awful.
I have a guess, and I hate it.
Okay, so I'm taking this as it's an ancient civilization. The place they lived wasn't called this at the time. Modern day, this is what these places are called. I have I'm gonna say France.
That's my guess as well, Evan. Let's see what
Balls.
it is. It was Italy.
Terrible.
It's fine. I am not nearly as upset about that as I am about the first one. I really should have stuck to my 1941 guns on that.
This is interesting. Who became the first person to become a billionaire with a B by writing books? Danielle Steele, Jacques Rowling, just kidding, Rowling, Elizabeth Badinter, I don't know that one, or Stephen King.
I'm going first thought, best thought here, Evan. I'm going with that notorious turf, J.K. Rowling.
In my mind, I mean, yeah, in my mind, it's either J.K. Rowling or Stephen King, unless Elizabeth Badinter wrote the Bible, and I'm unaware of that. Danielle Steele, man, she sold a lot of books. But you
I don't
can't
even know who that
compete.
is.
You don't know?
So,
She's like romance novels.
okay.
All the like flowery covers with
Fabio?
not quite Fabio, but same idea.
Okay.
I think a little less steamy than that. More
Got it.
romance.
Okay.
More actual romance, less fucking.
Not interested.
Stephen King is tempting. By writing books is tough because is that for both J.K. Rowling and Stephen King? Does that include movies based on their books?
Sure.
Is that making movie by writing a book, or is this just book sales? If it's just book sales, I kind of want to say Stephen King. She's got so many more books than J.K. Rowling.
It's true.
Like 100 more books than J.K. Rowling. But J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter. Man, I'm torn on this one. I'm going to go with Stephen King just to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's J.K. Rowling. But
it is J.K. Rowling.
All right, I got too clever. Ugh, I hate these fuckers.
All right. A June bug is what type of insect? A beetle, a butterfly, a cricket, or a fly?
I feel way too confident in this, and I don't trust myself now. I'm just first thought, best thought. It's a beetle.
That's also my first thought.
If not, it might be a cricket. I don't know.
Cricket would be my second choice, but I think it's still a beetle. And so here we go. Let's
Here we go.
Here we go. Let's find out. It was a beetle.
I would
All
have been
right.
less sure if I didn't have to deal with those drunk fuckers once a year living in Los Angeles. Hate them.
I am still admittedly uh not pleased about that Pearl Harbor one, but I do still expand the lead. I am now at 60 points
Wow.
and you are at 52.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I
I'm
will
famously not happy with Pearl Harbor in general.
yeah. I
Just going
yeah,
on the record.
that's good.
That's good.
If I can make an excuse, I think that knowing we were both on 1945 as one of our two options really helped me jump over there
For the
because I think that and talking about the gas station and how much we love round numbers,
yeah.
45 feels like a roundish number.
Yeah.
Certainly more so than 41 or 39.
For the third time this year, it's time for me to go to Wikipedia, collect all these dates again, really get my timeline straight so that a week from now we can ask ourselves again, and I still won't know.
Yep. We're just dumb.
We're just dumb. Oh, well, okay, bye.
Well, class of How Do We Human, we didn't do it.
We didn't do it.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye, Judge
Too dumb to
Dredd.
graduate. Bye-bye.
Too dumb.